Okay, so here we go. Can you see my screen now? So last week we talked about inspection, right? So we talked about locators. We mentioned that Selenium web locator. Talking about web locators, um, we find web locators with web applications. So web applications are there. They get displayed because as a result of web elements. So they are made up of what? Web elements, right? And we said um, to be able to click on or select or perform any action on web locators, on web elements, we need web locators. So these web locators are different. There are so many web locators such as CSS selectors, ID, name, class name, expert, and so on. All right. So we have all of these web locators, and we said for you to be able to locate elements, you have to inspect from the browser. All right, so you inspect from the browser, you right click, and then you click on the element you want to inspect, and then you from there you view and you copy and all of that, right? So that is how you inspect web elements. And then when you come to write your code, we said that it's since we are making use of page object model, all right, you separate your page object classes from your test cases. And then we decided to separate our page object class from our test cases. So in our page object class, we inspect our element, and then we write methods to perform actions on those elements that we have selected. Looking at this now, we discover that we have some part of this page. All right, it's okay. We have the import element, we have the constructor, we have the inspections. All right, these are the elements that we inspected, and then after inspecting it, then we declared it, all right, as an object. We declared it as an object, and then we come here to write our methods for each of those elements. We write a method for them. All right, so after writing the method, we perform an action. We say, oh, send key. We say send key is a method, all right, that takes in inputs. All right, we also said click is another action that you can perform. There are so many actions you get to perform on an object in Selenium. All right, so for you to know more of these actions, all right, we also said you can go through the Selenium page. Let me see. So we have Selenium documentation. So generally just read through your Selenium documentation, all right? Which is like the Selenium documentation, the web driver. All right, read through this, getting started, okay, and all of that. So let me send this to you. Okay. All right, so generally read through that, then you will learn, you will know more about the language Selenium. The next thing we talked about was writing the test cases, right? So in writing the test cases, I had a particular issue last week Sunday, and that issue was as a result of my base class. I was getting a null pointer, if you recall. All right, so we said that for your test case to run, all right, it has to be linked to what your page object and what your base class. You know what your base class does? We went through that. So I have my base class here. Normally it's just maybe one or two, but I don't want to delete all of this because it's also part of the class. So part of this automation class. So I have my base class here, all right, having my web driver declared, and then the base property. I later changed this one to like made it a constructor. All right, so I have this in my base class, and I have a method called navigate to URL. What this is doing is it's getting the URL itself. You recall last week that we said um, you have to like have a URL, a base URL, right? And I recall that there was the test I run that the URL was somewhere here. All right, but I've added I edited last week video. I've added a part where I explained the base URL and the navigate URL. All right, so you kind of understand it better now. So your base URL is important that you write it very well. All right, so we have the base URL here, and I wrote a method for it to what, to navigate to the URL. So when I come to my test case here, what I will do is I will say, okay, before you jump on to run my test case class, run my setup. Where is my setup? My setup is inside my base class. All right, my setup is inside my base class. Come to this base class, all right, and do what, and run my setup. Run my setup. All right, come to this base class and run my setup. So what this setup is doing is, all right, it is going to read everything from the beginning of this base class. It will read from line 6, because look at my method setup. I say new base class, so it will read from line 6, jump to here, read this line, jump to here, read this line. So you know that it will navigate to this URL, it will select the browser it wants to go, right, and all of that. So that is what this my base class is going to do. And so when you come here and you say, okay, before class, oh, I didn't mention that I think I mentioned TestNG last week. Did I? Yeah. We mentioned TestNG last week. We said TestNG is part of the testing framework that allow you to define how you run your test. So we have methods at test, at before class, after class, before method, after method, and so on. Right? You can also read up TestNG from the TestNG documentation. If you go online, we have TestNG. I think I've even put it here. So we have TestNG, we have the documentation is quite long, but you can find a way to just read through. So those ads that we've been writing, there are annotations that defines how you write your test. So at test means that you are running this particular test. All right, so we said we write a method for it, method user login. So this interrupted exception came later. Why? Because we wrote a thread.sleep. It was not there before, but when we wrote thread.sleep, which is like our weights, all right, I said last week, read about implicit and explicit weights. Okay, so read about weight. In programming, at times you might even take 2, 3, 4 days to solve just one simple problem, but at the end of the day, by the time you solve it, you get better with it. That's one advantage of it. Okay, so I have okay. So we used automatically interrupted exception. Means that this method is running, this object is running, but wait at this particular point. That is interrupt. Like when you ask a process thread to stop at a point of execution. All right, so it's wait, but you have to give it a time. All right, the interrupt exception as an interval, as a period. All right, so you give it 1 millisecond, 1,000 milliseconds, 1 second, and all of that. Right, so that is how you use interrupted exception. So all of these things that we did here, we are saying that when you get to user name, when you get to that point where user click on username, wait for a while. All right, wait for a while before moving on to password. All right, so we want you to wait and be sure that it actually finds the element before jumping and saying, oh, I can't find the element. Right, so it will wait and then it will impute this, and then all of that, move to the next, click this, and then wait for a while again, and all of that. So that is how we wrote our test steps last week. So but we're going to continue with writing test cases next week, but today we'll be trying to expand our test framework. So all of this that you see here is what we call the test framework. The test framework is starting from your project name. You have your project name, you have your drivers, you have your SRC, your main, your test. So all of this is what we call what? Your test framework. So when you are asked that, can you build an automation test framework? This is what we are referring to. All right, that you can build a robust test framework. And what is composed of a test framework? A test framework is composed of your driver object. It's composed of your page object classes and test cases. It's composed of a reporter and a logger. Then it also has your config properties, so which we'll be looking into today. If we can't finish today, we'll continue tomorrow. All right, so in short, your automation framework is just like your test suite in the manual aspect of testing. When you are building your test suite in manual testing, we say that you have the name of the project. All right, we say you have the tools or the environment where the test is executed. You have the test cases and the scenarios. Then you have maybe a dashboard that reports and analyzes the pass and failed test cases. All right, then of course in manual you don't really need a configuration property, a setting. So I think that is where manual stops from. You have probably a bug sheet also attached to it, and some screenshots to show that the test was performed. Okay, so that is basically your test suite in a manual sense. But talking about automation, you are also building something like that, except that this time around you have some basic setting you have to put into place, otherwise you won't be able to execute your test cases properly. Since it is not manual, it is what? Automated. All right, now last week we talked about our pom.xml. We talked about our pom.xml. We talked about the test engine, the log4j, and so on. And I said today that we are going to revisit the log4j, if you recall. All right, so the log4j now, I'll be using a material here. I will share it with you too. Let me share it with you. So it says log4j in a Maven project, how to set up, configure, and use. So we are setting it up, we are making use of it. We said that it will help to log informations to the console. Okay, so let me send it to the WhatsApp group. Okay, quite a lot I've sent out this morning. All right. So we say logging is an essential component of any good software development process. And through logging, you can detect and fix issues, understand the behavior of your users, and even obtain valuable business insight. However, logging involves a lot of tricky issues and problems you need to solve. Right? So, making use of log4j with Maven, uh, we've done the setup. We have our Java installed, right? We have our, what is that thing? It's also a Maven project. You have to ensure it's a Maven project, which of course you recall the first day we created a new Maven project. That was what we did. All right. Then the next thing is I'm going through a material here, so that's we have written a code. Now the next thing is to install log4j. Okay, so we are now going to install the log4j framework so that we can replace the placeholders with actual login. Since this is a Maven project, we declare dependencies by adding them to our pom XML. So let's do that. So this is our pom.xml, all right? And I added some log4j last week. So, but then when I was running my test case, there was a point I was having issues. It was not properly installed. So the best way to install it is to look for the log4j API and the log4j core. So let me go to Maven site now. You recall our Maven site. This is our Maven repository. So I'm going to search for log4j API. Log4j API. That's what I will search for now. Okay. Log4j API. And then I will install any version I'm interested in. Let me use this one. Okay, so I have this dependency. I'll come here. I'll come here and install it as part of my okay. Okay, I didn't copy it properly. So what did I copy just now? Let's go back to what I copied. Oh, see, I didn't copy it properly. Okay. Okay, so log4j. So it is installing, still red. I'm going to try to refresh my Maven. Load Maven changes. Okay. So let me make it version 20. This thing is asking me to use version 20. I think that there's even version 20 from where I saw this. Is there? Yes, there's version 20. So that's 2.20.0. 2.20.0. Okay, so I think this will work now. Alright, so that's the first thing you do. Then the another dependency we will use is log4j core. Alright. For log4j core, you I'll come here, we'll search for log4j, log4j core. Okay, so let me also use this version 20. So I have this, right? So I've installed log4j. Now that we have log4j installed, so we'll add some login statements to try it out. Alright, so it starts from your import. You import log4j, alright. You import log4j, there's log4j log manager and there's log4j logger. So I will come to I'll come here. I'm going to put it in my base class. Where's my base class? Okay, so I will say import. Sorry, let me confirm something. Okay, so I will say import org dot apache dot login dot log4j and then log manager. Then another one, import org dot apache dot logins dot 4j dot logger. Okay, so we have this. First, add the following two imports to the top of our application. So I've done that. Then you're going to need a logger instance. So we had a logger instance, alright, which is going to be immediately after your class. Alright, so we say has anyone opened the link I sent to you for the log4j? Okay, you can just look through it while we set it up here. Hello? Hello? Are we there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So I'm setting up log4j. So I said, can you open it from your end and so that we can follow through with
Which one?
the last link I sent.
Okay, the
Setting
data
up,
set.
yes, setting up log4j.
Okay.
All right. So what we will do now is, now that we have I have imported log4j, so I will declare the log4j here, and then I will initialize it. Yep, I think that's what I would do. Because you can't just use it without following through with okay, so I will say public Those ones put private there on the site, but I'm using public. Why? Because I'm going to need it for all my classes everywhere. It's not just for this base class. So I'll say public static public static okay, logger. This is the actual logger, then I will give it a name, logger. Okay, so this is the logger method, inbuilt logger object, and this is the name I'm giving it, the variable name I'm giving it. So I have declared it here, then I will initialize it. Okay, so I'll initialize it. Where should I initialize it? It should be inside my hold on, I'm in my base class, right? So it should be inside yeah, it should be inside this setup method, right? Let me put it here. So I will say initialize, trying to follow what we have here. Okay, initialize logger. So how do I initialize logger? I will say the logger instance that I declared up there, right, equals to the logger instance, equals to logger. Okay. Logger should not have error. I don't know why. Okay. So get logger. Okay. So following. So I have in this textbook they said logger dot trace. All right. Or logger dot debug, logger dot info. Those are the different calls you can make on your logger object. So you have logger dot trace, logger dot debug, logger dot info, dot one, dot error, dot fatal. Okay. So what other thing? So I guess that is all. So this was, instead of just declaring it, it was initialized from the declaration part. I don't want to do it this way. I won't put logger equals to log manager dot get logger. No. All right. So let me see how I can do this. Okay. Okay. There's something else I want to import. So apache.log4j.level. Did I import that? Okay, so I only have log4j.logger, log4j. Okay. That means that if I don't want to use the log manager like they used there, I will have to use something else. So let's try import org dot apache, not Openga, dot apache dot level. Is there no level? Why is it not bringing it up? Sorry, dot log4j dot log4j log4j apache dot okay. That is so not it. Okay, we should have normally log4j in our POM, otherwise I won't be able to use it. Okay, that takes me back again to pom.xml. Alright. So I have log4j API, log4j code. There should be log4j itself. Okay. So that takes me back to Maven too.
Hello.
Hello.
Please, can you go back to that your POM? I need clarity on something.
Alright, we are going back there. Right. I will copy vulnerabilities. Wait happen. Okay. Apache log4j.
Bless you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so let's Can't I come back? Okay, so there's something you want to check out from here. And so what do you want to check out from? These are the things we added this morning. We added these ones.
So you see this dependency. I'm trying to understand where we are supposed to be pasting it because mine is having plenty lines. So I know at the beginning there's dependencies, more or less like this tag.
Yes, the dependency open and close. So this dependency open and close.
Okay.
There's also open and so you discover that everything else open and close, they are nested inside each other. So there is dependency sys open that takes in every kind of dependency. See, these dependencies close, dependencies open. Then inside the dependencies we have each dependency like a list 1, 2, 3, 4, that kind of a thing. So we have dependency, the first one. We also have the normal dependency open and the closing tag. So we have the open tag, the closing tag, the open tag, the closing tag, open tag, closing tag. That's kind of thing. So and you copy each dependency, you just copy this and paste. You copy this and paste inside.
Okay, so we can decide not to copy this URL, this https mavenrepository.com. This artifact.
Which one? Okay, this one. Okay, this one is just a comment. So if you see something like this in XML, it shows comments. So it's just for you to understand that this dependency, right, is coming from this repository.
Okay.
It's a comment. So that's why I did not uncomment it. I left it like that because it's a comment for one to be able to understand this code. So this is something what we call XML. It's written in an XML format. It's an old format of writing key value pair. Is it restful or is not restful? Restful is JSON. It's is it asynchronous? So you are trying to I'm thinking of how to pass this across, so that you will understand. Is a modeling language, that is one. So it carries an object and a value. So each of the objects are the tags. We have this tag as an dependency object, group object, which is also like the key. Now the value is what you have nested inside of it. So the value of group ID right now is org dot selenium this. So the value of artifact ID right now is what selenium java. Is the opposite of API. It's more like, I said API, JSON, object notation. So this one is for object notation, you have your key value and you have your object and the value also. But the way it is written is also nested inside curly braces. That's what is used. But here it is open and close tag. Alright. But they are doing the same thing. It's just that XML might be difficult to read, might not be as fast as JSON. And there's also the part of synchronous and asynchronous, the difference between XML and JSON. So yeah, I think that's what it is. There's the open and close tag. If you see one without the close tag, you might have error. For example, if I do this now, delete the close tag for this, errors will come up sharp. So everything always have an open and a close tag, otherwise there will be errors. So what I did just now, I wanted to what I did just now, I brought in normal log4j. There's log4j core, there's log4j API. Why? Because I don't want to totally follow through with the material I sent. And also because I'm not dealing with just one application. I'm not dealing with just one class. I'm going to be dealing with a lot of classes. So at the end of the day, I have to find the best way of writing this. So that was why I brought in log4j, and I was going to go back to my base class and import log4j itself. So we're going to go and see org.apache.log4j. I was trying to import it earlier, I didn't find it. Log4j dot, I don't know. Okay, it's there now. Log4j.11. Why is this still showing red? Optimize import. No, I'm not optimizing yet, and I'm still just importing them. Okay, so I still have some issues. Okay, no, might not have issues. So 11 log4j find jar on web apache log.apache.log4j. Is it because, okay, let's go back to the Maven repository. Okay, is it because something is happening to log4j? Okay, and I want us to be able to use it. Okay, so we have Apache log4j API, everything. So this is log4j itself, Apache log4j logins framework. There are 5 in fact, everything looks like it has vulnerabilities, but this is the latest. Oh, this is going to be an issue. Okay, so we have 1.2.17. 1.2.17. So come here. I hope. Okay. Pom.xml. Okay, that's what I used. 1.2.17. Okay, so let's do it again. Perhaps there's something else. I think they introduced logins. Logins.log. Aha. See what I've been trying to do. So I want to get this log level. Okay, so this is what I want to get. I've imported it now. Alright. I will stop here. So I'll declare my logger. That's the first thing I did. Then I wanted to initialize the logger here. Alright. So going by how you initialize, I say logger equals to, I still don't know why. Name reference, okay, don't worry. So I will put what's the name of this project again, by the way? Oh, why did I name it Payment TDD project? Let me rename this project. I'll call it rename automation setup class. I'll call it source demo web framework. Source demo web framework. Okay, so I can still share. Okay, so for get logger, okay, there's something I'm supposed to do before now. Okay, so we'll stop here and quickly go and do it, and then come back here. Yeah, so that's what setting up framework entails. You keep setting up things, right? Okay, so there's something I'm supposed to set up before setting up log4j, and that is my configuration file. Alright, so your configuration folder contains what will I call it now? Contains your project setup details, maybe like your base URLs. If it is a project that deals with a different base URLs, you can put them there. It contains maybe different usernames if you have to deal with different usernames or different users, different user levels and all of that. Your passwords, your invalid passwords, so different configurations as per user. So we'll create a folder, we'll call it configuration. Let's come here. Come to your projects, create a folder. Call it configuration. And inside your configuration, you create a new file and call it your config.properties. So inside your config.properties, You then have, just for an example, I can write that my base URL can be here. You say base URL equals what's our base URL again? That's source demo. Oh, what is wrong with this thing? Okay. This was not the swag. Okay. Okay, so I'll come here, copy my base URL. I'll put something like this inside. Alright. Then I can also say what maybe my username. Maybe my username is what could my username be? Let's look for any username from this side. I think I have some usernames that are not. So I'll put it there. Maybe I can say username 1, username okay. I can put this other username here. Okay. And I call me do this. And so on. So let's assume this is what let's put password. Okay, so password. So my password could be this. Okay, so say password. Oh no. I didn't copy it well. So this is my password. Okay, so password is highlighted here, probably because this same password is the same keyword I used somewhere in my code. If it is being used, it will get highlighted. If it is not used, it will be grayed out like this. So we'll find out. We'll get there. So anyway, this is our config properties. This is what I've created for fun. However, you will come to your main class and you will import something, right? Where is my base class? You will come back to your base class. Then let's import something. A config for configuration. So I'll come here and say, okay, import org dot apache dot logins log4j dot no log manager. What would I call it? There's no property. Login exception. No? There's no configurator. There should be configurator property. Okay. Anyway, our configuration, there's another one we import. Let me just leave this out for now. There's something else that we import because our config property is a file. Remember, we created a file and then named it config property. So it's a file. There is also the library that supports making use of files in our classes, Because if you want to make this class work alongside with the config properties file, then you import a library that will support it before you now set it up. So what I will do now is I will go back to my POM again, right? I'll go back to my POM. Okay, can someone see what I am seeing? Can you see log4j properties? I did not create it. I think it got created when I created config properties. Okay, so when I imported, let's go back to our, okay, so this is my base class. Sorry, I was reading something else. Okay, I think I need to create it. So I was on another screen. Sorry about that. Okay, so there is no. We'll go back to our pom.xml, right? So in our pom.xml, I'm going to import an Apache library called Commons. There's an Apache library, it's called org.apache.commons. I can also find that from Maven repository. I should be able to find it. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, it's like somebody is dropping off.
Yes, I just got back.
Oh, okay. So, are you back? There's Apache logins actually. Let's go back to this our Maven. There is no wonder those ones are decrypted out. There's something I'm supposed to. Okay, so let me see. The one we imported the other time for Apache log4j API. Where is it? Okay, so this is log4j logins. This is also logins. And okay, that's fine. But I'm going to import commons.io now. Why? Because we'll be dealing with files, config property, because no longer just classes and packages, but this is a file here, right? So I will come here. Meanwhile, okay, I think the logger file will generate on its own when I set it up properly, because there is a logger file that is supposed to get generated. Okay, so okay, um, there is a file that's supposed to be created when I created my config file. I can't find it. We have to do this framework properly, otherwise we'll have issues later. Okay, so we have okay, so what do we have here? Okay. This auto-generated target classes. Okay. Okay. So let's create the config file again. I think I didn't create it properly. Meanwhile, I will just copy this out somewhere, and then to create the config file, you go to projects window under src. Where is our src? This is src, right? Right click on the main directory, go to new. Okay, so I click on the main directory, go to new, and then you will see a new screen prompting you for new directory name. Okay, so this was how we were supposed to create it, right? New directory, then I will see my new directory. Okay, I hope I even. Okay, so let's say new directory is configuration. New directory is configuration. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks to set up a framework. This one that we are doing in one class. It won't be one class though, we'll continue tomorrow. Okay, so we have the configuration folder. Then okay, so under maybe source directory, go back to project, right click, resource folder, new file. It should not be here. It should not be here. So let me delete this first. Okay. Can't be deleted. So let me delete this first. Then I will say new directory. Okay. So I'll call this maybe configuration. Sorry. Do I want it here? Okay. Okay, let's do it again. It's not at the right place. Delete. So I'll go to new directory, inside test resources. Okay. All right. So do you know what I'm following? So I'm following that dataset page to see if I can create my config file, and then so we have creating the config file. We might have messed up the way we created our test classes here. It looks to me like we might have messed it up, but I will not touch it yet because I can't sit down to start refactoring code. It's going to take so we'll just leave it like that. Okay. I'm not sure if this place where I put my resources is the right place. Let me just confirm. So, where should I confirm from? So I will call this um oh, let me just look for a better site to check. Okay. Config properties. Okay. Okay, so I see something here. So the issue we are having is creating the config properties, right? Let me go back to my page. So I explained what your config property is. So I'm going to delete what we have now. Then I think what we have now is actually okay. 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 So I will. So normally I should go to new, then file, then okay, IntelliJ record source directory. Okay. I will delete this. Delete. Okay, it is okay here where we have it. I think it's actually okay. Another thing is some people try to put their config properties, they put it somewhere in the text. So I think that is the one I've been using. That's the guideline I've been using, and I thought it was wrong. So you can also have it here. I think we're on the right path. I have my config dot properties here, and I've edited. I think I've put something inside. So the next thing is to be able to access what I've put inside, which is like importing my config properties. So I'm going to import it inside my base class here. And so I will. So the reason I'm doing all of this is just so you follow in case you are trying to build your own framework, right? Um, so I'll come here and say import. I will say import the Java. Import Java dot util dot properties. Properties. That's what I've been looking for. Properties. Okay, so I have import java dot properties. Then I can also do file input stream. Since it is a file, then there's another import I'm still supposed to do. Import java dot Or instead of from Java directly, it could have come directly from Selenium. Let me see if I can get it from Selenium. Org dot, I think that is Selenium dot logins dot properties here. Logins dot log entry, login reference, log label. Okay. Dot dot io. Oh yeah, I need io also though. I need io. The io will allow for file to be able to import file, our property file. Okay, so I have but why is it not in Apache? Apache dot commands dot everything inside commands. Let me do it that way. Then util dot properties. Util dot properties. Then I'll, since I've not imported anything related to commands, I'll go back to my, okay, don't be confused, this is just the process it takes. I want to go to commands, commands, Apache commands IO for login and for importing files. Okay. I have common IO this version. Okay. Okay. So I have Apache commands, that version, and okay, I think I'll just use this version here. Okay. So come here and install. I'll go back to my base class. Okay, so all of the things I've imported, I've not used them. Fine, that's fine. Okay, so I have my, so going back to my config properties. All right. So going back to my config properties to be able to also use config. So I will say I've already declared my logger. I can also declare my config file such that I'll be able to read all the configurations inside config.properties. So what I will do, no, not this. So what I will do is in my base class here, I'm going to create a config, like to read the data from inside my config file. I will initialize it inside this my base class. So I will say maybe public static, still no root cause. Okay. publish static read config. Okay, or okay. So read config. Okay, that will not work. It should work. So I'm going to write a whole method of read config. I think that's what will happen. So it should work. Okay. So I need to write a read config and say new, but however I still need to import something here. This is getting twisted. So read config. So this is my read config here. Not finding jar. I can add Maven dependency. Cancel. Don't introduce error to my code. Okay, so I'll come and say have I used any com? Okay, so I'll go back to my prompt to import something. Import. Okay, to use read config, I have to. So what read config does is I want you to be able to read an external file, and that external file is the configuration setting in my config properties. So to be able to use config properties, I still have to import okay, com dot util dot no, I'm not optimizing import. If I optimize import, I will have issues right now, so I will just go back to my pump and look for what dependency to use so that this red will be gone. So that this red will be gone. I thought I imported something that will support read config the other time, but I might have to use something else. So okay, I can see some dependencies here. I'm just going to copy them and paste them in my pom.xml. I have comments here. Let me recopy. Okay, so I've imported this. I still have my commons. Okay, so I have two commons here. Hopefully this will help support the read config. Otherwise we are it's supposed to be jar. Okay, one more thing to confirm. Our time is almost spent and we are not done with log4j. Okay. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, so okay, it looks like I might have to write an entire um an entire class for my configuration reader. So let's jump on it. It will not work without writing a different class for it. Man, do we have that time to do that? Okay, so we'll go back and we'll go back and do something. All right, let's go back. So I will clean this up. I will also clean this up while we deal with finding a way to import my configuration properties. So for me to be able to import my configuration properties, I will do something now. You know, all of these are packages, right? So I will create another package and call it utilities. All right. I will call it utilities. Apparently I can't do any shortcut here. Okay, so this is our SRC, right? This is our test folder. Then I will come here, I will create a new package. I'll create a new package and call it utilities. So inside these utilities, I will create another package and call it maybe logs. I'll call it logs. Nope. That is not right. Delete. Inside utilities, I want to create a log. Okay, so I'll say log. It shouldn't be that way, but let's hope it will work. It shouldn't be utilities.log new package. Instead the new package should just be log with that though. Okay, I'll just leave it like that and delete. Okay, so I have log. Inside my logs, I'm going to create a class, and I will call it read config. And inside my read config, I'm going to get properties, the config properties. All right, I'm going to get the config properties. So what do I do? Number one, I'll say this package is supposed to be let me just name this refactor, call it utilities only. Inside utilities, I have read config. So I have package utilities. So what I will do is, I will import, because there's no way I can write read config without importing. So java dot io dot file dot io dot bringing out file. So we said we want to be able to deal with files, right? So I have files. I have import dot import java .io dot file stream, that is input and output of files, or reading data from inside files, call it file input stream. Then we also have import java util properties. Properties I've been looking for since. Okay, so interesting. So we have all of this. Then inside this here, I'm going to write a configuration constructor. Say public. Can pay attention here in case you're still having issues with constructor and all of that. This is like a recap for you. Okay, so we have read config. I want to be able to read file, get the properties of config properties, read it, and then and that's it. Then it will now, okay, so I will say file. Okay, what is file? File what? File. File TestNG reporter, file everything. The different kind of files here. File reader. Let's do file input.io. Okay. File src equals to new file. Path name. Okay, so we need a path. Okay, we'll take this option. So what will happen is so inside this new file, I want to be able to get the properties of my configuration file. Then that includes getting where this config property is, which is like the path name. So I will say system.get properties. Okay, get property. Where is my configuration? My configuration is here. Okay, what where is the part so I have config with system.get properties. Yes, configure properties is inside configuration. Alright. So I can then, I think that's that. But there is something people always write in case there is an error in reading the file. You can write a try catch. Try catch is saying what's the name now? The you if you open the file and you read the data and there is an error, then you be able to like catch the error. So it will throw an exception which is like it will throw the error message. Alright, so you can do a try catch, but I'm not doing that for now. Alright, so another method I can write within this read config is maybe a method to be able to read the configuration inside config property. Maybe I want to read the username and I want to read the password. Then I can come here too and say there's something I'm supposed to write here. What should I call it? Something that's supposed to be okay, so I will just call it anything. Let's hope that I can't call it anything, obviously. Instead of get properties. Okay. Okay. Should I use hopefully I'll be able to get a hold of that. So I was saying something about writing methods, writing other methods to maybe read objects from your config properties. So I can write maybe get username or something. Let's just do something like get username, public string, maybe get username. Maybe I can say public string get username. So I think I have a username there. I can then see to be able to get username. I have a username here, right? So I can come and say public string get username, right? Then maybe string this URL equals to sorry, string user username equals to get property. So you get property of the username, alright. So I can say declare your properties. So I have get property. Property of the username. Get property of the username and return. Anyway, I'm just writing one method just to show you that you can return. Okay. So return this. Let me go to config property. Okay, it read it. Okay, it read it, but there's still an error here. So you see this thing is highlighted. this password we check where it is reading it from, so that we can correct it. I think it must be I think it must be the way we named our web element password that made password to be read. Web element password. What did we call it? Imagine, so string password. I could have named this maybe my password. So if this is my password and my test case is my password, then come to config properties. It is still highlighted, so where is it reading password from? Okay, so that is not the issue right now that we are dealing with. The issue right now that we are dealing with is that we have a read config now. Although with error, I will find a way to debug it. So we have a read config now. So this your read config, you bring it into your base class, the one we were writing earlier. Right? You bring it into your base class. So I have my base class. We were trying to write it here earlier. We couldn't get the hold of it. Now we are back to it. So we'll say how do I do it? So first of all, import the file, the read config that we've written here under utilities. That was what I did. Okay, I've removed it. So I will say import utilities. Utilities.read config. So I'm importing this file. Then I will come here and declare it. I will say let's say public. That is not it. Public static read config. So call it a name, read config equals to new read config. Alright. Well, I'm writing read config here. I'm asking it to read properties from read config, and read config is also reading properties from config properties. Alright. Now, what is the next thing? Now, the next thing is that we also declare, I would say, my base URL. I think I have my base URL here. Right. So I would say, how best should I do this? So I will say public string my base URL will be equals to read config. Okay, let's see if that will work. Public string public string my base URL. Okay. Equals this is a static string. Let's not change. Okay, so public static string base URL equals to read config dot what? get username. Okay, because that's the only method inside of the read config. So I can say get username. However, I think the best would be to get the URL, right? The best would be to get the URL, meaning that I could write my navigate to base URL inside read config. I don't know if you are getting the gist. So inside read config, I have my config properties that has base URL, username, and so on. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to read this file inside here and also read base URL, read username, read password. So I have said get username. I can also say get base URL, something like that, right? Can we do that? So I can say get base URL. And what is my base URL? What my base URL? And so let's see. Let me write it before this method. Public string. Okay, public string. We get app URL. Get the application URL and product. The get property, of course. So get the property. What name did I call it inside my config properties? I called it base URL. I call it base URL. Okay. Return then so if I say you should read base URL from inside config property, you should read username from inside it. You should read password. Let's see if I can add password to it. I just got this one, get password. So if this is getting password, then I can say string pass equals to product get property password. Okay, yeah, because it is what password, so I can say password, then I will say return pass. All right, okay, so I have, hold on, so inside this your read config, you can also decide to add other kind of maybe login. If it is valid username, invalid password, you can decide to write their methods inside. and they'll call them inside your base class. All right. So I have I still don't know why I was getting configuration. I think I still don't know why I'm having issues here. I'm still looking it up. So I have configuration slash. Alright. Path name, get properties, config the properties. Whatever I put there is still get properties, config the properties, and then the path name. I mean, that's normally how it should be, but let's continue. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is you can just keep writing methods like that. All right, so inside your base class, you come here, and then you can, and then you come here, and then you can read the methods. You can call the methods here. So I have read config dot get app URL. Let me ask it to get application URL. Right. So I can read the what's the name? The read config. I can get the application URL from the read config. I can get my username. I can get my password. So you can just do. Let me just do it. So I can say public string. Excuse me. Public string. Thought we'll be done with log4j today, but continue tomorrow. Our time is fast spent. Okay, so I have public string. What now? Username. I want to get username to read config. Then I can do the same thing for password. Okay. So I have password and so on. Alright, so we are still not done. But however, you discover that I will have to do my base URL somewhere else now. I mean, it's already now in my read config. So can you remember that my base URL is here? Right. Good. So I'll come here. I'm going to remove this. Okay. Okay. So what other thing do we have to do? All right, and so I think that's it. So we have the web driver and then the logger. Where is my logger? Okay, my web driver, my logger. So let me put this logger below. I'll put it here. So it will read configuration from the config properties here. It will get the URL you get the username and password, it will make use of the WebDriver. Now the logger is supposed to now log things to the console. So this is the logger we are supposed to like now continue with. Right. So this is where we are stopping. We are stopping right here, and we are going to continue from here tomorrow. Right? We'll continue from here tomorrow. We'll complete the setup of the log4j, and if possible we will try to also complete TestNG right tomorrow. So guys, here we are stopping for today. I said the other time that I'm going to give space for questions. All right, so let me stop. I will stop